Welcome, everybody. This is the Wednesday before Thanksgiving, and it is the 12:30 intermediate class. Today we are going to do two songs where we'll be doing That'll Be the Day and Tomorrow from the musical Annie. Rock and roll for That'll Be the Day is going to be pretty easy because rock and roll is pretty easy to play. It's three chords, and pretty much that's it. Same as country. And a lot of times they don't even like to play the thirds in rock and roll. They just play the root and the fifth. And I think sometimes it's because they just had two strings on their guitar. And that's how the chords actually came out. All right, what do we know about That'll Be the Day? This was written by, take a look at who wrote it, Mr. Buddy Holly and Jerry Allison. First recorded by Buddy Holly and the Three Tunes. Did you realize he had a band called the Three Tunes in 1956? He re-recorded it in 1957 with his new band called the Crickets. So Buddy Holly and the Crickets. This was the first song recorded as a demo by a little band in Liverpool called the Quarrymen. You know who they are?
Beatles.
They're the Beatles. Yep, they this was their first song that they did as a demo in Liverpool as the Quarrymen, and eventually they became the Beatles. So there's your trivia for the day. If you ever go on Jeopardy, now you know some of the answers. In June of 1956, Buddy Holly went to see a movie called The Searchers, starring John Wayne. Wayne repeatedly used the phrase, well, that'll be the day, and voila, they used that to write this song. Linda Ronstadt recorded this for the 1976 Grammy Award-winning platinum album called Hasten Down the Wind. It reached number 11 on the United States Billboard Top 100. The B-side of this song for Ronstadt is Crazy. Now, that's something I didn't know. I didn't know she'd ever done Crazy. But I do know this from Linda Ronstadt, to be real honest with you. That was probably my one and only experience with listening to That'll Be the Day. All right, so what kind of backgrounds do we use? There really is only one, but I want you to experiment. The best one is the 50s swing rock. Now, you probably have some other ones that would work as well, like try your... Oh, what am I thinking of? I'm thinking of the jive one that's in here, East Coast Swing Jive. Try that one, see what you think. But it goes 150 beats per minute, so it does go fast. And if you just bring it up to your 50s swing rock, it's going to put you on an organ sound and some guitars on the bottom. I'm also going to be using a saxophone, which is very typical for 50s bands. They had their drummer, their guitarist, their lead singer, their bass player, and then they usually had a saxophone player in there. So that's a great instrument to be throwing in on this one. So let's do That'll Be the Day on 50 swing rock at 150. Okay, let's go to a saxophone. actually a very good finger exercise. It gets that right hand going. But there's no chord changes. The only thing I did in the second time through is on line 3, play the C chord, and right after the C chord, put in a no chord, an NC, and then the no chord is going to go for the rest of that measure and the first measure of line 4. So you want to put the G7 and the C7 in parentheses. And then instead of playing those chords, I did a drum solo. So right after you do the C chord, do the no chord, and then play your saxophone. But while you're doing that, hit your FX so you get a drum solo. And then when that F chord comes back in, it should be exactly in the right spot to actually sound pretty cool. Now, the problem is you're going 150 beats a minute, so it is going to be fast. So if you don't feel like putting that in, just throw in an FX every now and then. That'll do it for you. But no chord changes. I did do some note changes on the second page. The first time I played it, no changes. The second time I played it, line 4, you make me cry. Yeah, that was nicely in tune. Thank you, Dawn. Where when you made me cry, first it's written C, 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 D. Okay? Now, the second time you play it, beat 1, you could go up to a high C. Over the C for make, put an A. Over the C for me, put a G. And over the D for cry, put an E flat. Okay? And just play it as you would feel it. So that just gives it a little bit of a change. Any questions?
What was those notes again?
The notes were C, A, G, E flat. For you make me cry. Okay. Now, E flat is the same as D sharp, and as you can see, you're going to go right down to a D and back to a D sharp. So if D sharp is easier for you to read, go ahead and put it in as a D sharp. Okay. And that's just about all there is to this song, honest and truly. And you just play it and have a good time with it. And throw in FX and drum solos whenever you feel like it. If you have the Fake It, that would be a good place to go through the second time and play the first 8 measures on a Fake It and just do your noodling. Or if you've got Fake It Plus, just put down 2 black keys and have a good time with it. Unfortunately, this organ does not have that. But it would be something fun to try. This one does have.
Which I love. Whoop, you're frozen up, Dawn.
You're froze, Dawn.
You froze.
Hold on.
Did you get all that, Joanne?
Pardon me?
Did you get all that?
Yeah, I got it. Did you get it?
I'm still processing it.
I sure hope she's not still talking to us.
Sue,
Yes.
this is Dottie. I missed her when she introduced the whole thing. What was the rhythm she was using?
50 swing rock,
50 swing rock?
150 tempo.
Okay,
And
thank
she,
you.
on the second time around, she did the saxophone.
Okay, thank you.
No, the whole thing, saxophone. And no drums. If somebody else can add to that, or if I said it wrong,
You still
let
got
Dottie
it.
know.
You got it right.
When did she introduce that saxophone?
Second time around.
Second time
Was
around.
it? Okay. That's what I had.
Yeah, he was late for the gig, so.
He almost got left out.
I don't know if my fingers can play that fast.
Put it down to 100.
Maybe. How is she gonna get back on?
She's gonna come out and go back in.
Oh, 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 that's right. She said she was gonna turn off. Mine's been doing crazy things. If my brother can't fix it, I'm gonna ask the Geek Squad. I have a Mac, an iMac,
Yeah.
and it just it comes up with extensions. I don't even know what the words mean. So hopefully he can correct it. But it also freezes me and prevents me from getting into Zoom because it's so busy doing all those stupid things.
Yeah.
I'm gonna take advantage of it. Ernie?
And she's left the building.
Yep. She got tired of us.
How's John?
He's fine. He's fine.
Yeah?
Him and his Zoom meetings, I swear. He's got a lot of them.
Dawn's talking, and I can see she's talking, but we're not hearing her. Did you click along the top
He
there
doesn't
where
know she's
everybody's
not.
picture is?
Okay. Can you hear me
There,
now?
we hear you now.
Yeah.
We don't
I-
see you yet, but we hear you.
I got totally kicked off
There you
my
are.
own class
There
again.
you go.
All right. So it might happen again. So I'm sorry. I don't know what's going on with like I said, I don't know if it's the mall. I don't know what's going on, but it happened yesterday. My phone got shut off for a while today too. Here I was out without phone for a while. So thank you for your patience. Let's move on to tomorrow from Annie.
Oh, are we gonna do the fingering or not?
Oh yes, we are. Thank you. I totally
Thank
forgot. See, I got all messed up. All right. D sharp 4, E5, D4, C3, C3, A1, C3, 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 D4, D4, D sharp 5, D4, C3, C3, A1, C3, 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 all the way across, D4, D4, D sharp 5, D4, C3, C3, A1, C3, 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 D4, C3, D sharp 4, E5, D sharp 4, E5, C3, A2, G1, B3, B3, C4, C4, check mark. D4, C3, A1, C3, 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 D4, C3, A1, C3, 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 D4, C3, A1, C3, C3, D4, C3. All right. Top of the next page, E flat 5, D4, C3, D4, C3, A1, C3, C3, D4, C3. C3, A1, C3, C3, D4, 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 E5, 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 D4, C3, C3, A1, C3, 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 D4, D4, D sharp 5, D4, C3, C3, A1, C3, C3. The notes that are written there, all those C's are 3s. The D is a 4, D4, D sharp 5. Now, those extra notes, you're on your own with those. Just start with a 5 and come on down. Okay? Let's go to say you're going to leave is D4, C3, C3, A1, C3, 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 D4, C3, D sharp 4, E5, D sharp 4, E5, C3, A2, G1, B3, B3, and C4. Okay? This is actually a fun song to play. Any questions?
No.
Nope. Okay. All right, let's go to the next one. And if it kicks me off again, well, same thing. I had to completely shut my computer off and turn it back on because it wouldn't let me connect. All right. Tomorrow is from Annie, and it does come up in song setup for most of you. It's under pop ballad. Now it comes up at 70. You're going to want to play it in cut time, meaning you're going to want to play it pretty much at 140. All right, so if you feel it, it's going to be right. Now I also did Jazz Club, but now Jazz Club didn't sound right at 70, so I doubled the tempo to 140 and just played it at 140. This also works on Ballroom Latin, believe it or not, at 70. Go back to 70. Baroque, which is under Classic, that was kind of an interesting twist at 70. Sweet Rhythm, actually that was one of my favorites. Sweet Rhythm is actually pretty cool at 70. And for those of you with the smaller instruments, on the fanfare, mixed pianist Candelabra at 70 was actually pretty nice. The Freedom 3, mellow, smooth 16 beat is excellent. And on the easies, 2 4s, 10s, 7s, all those other ones in between, the traditional guitarist at 140, because that is your jazz club. Gospel guitarist at 70. And your smooths, any of them at 70 are good. Is there anybody who's unsure of what this song is even about? Anybody not know the song? Pretty much all do? Okay. This was a show tune from the musical Annie, published in 1977. Again, it was originally written as Replay, The Way We Live Now, for the 1970 short film called Replay. And it got redone and a little bit rewritten as Tomorrow for Annie. Cover versions included Cissy Houston, who, if you don't know who she is, she was Whitney Houston's mom. She was also a very good singer in her own right. Grace Jones. Oh, when I saw that, I went, you're kidding, right? Because I kind of admire Grace Jones, but she definitely doesn't seem like the Tomorrow type of a girl. She actually did a disco version. So if you want to put it under disco, please feel free to give that a try. Barbra Streisand, 1978. As a matter of fact, that was the first version that I ever heard, was her version of Tomorrow. It's absolutely beautiful. The Manhattans, Lou Rawls. Now there's somebody that I wouldn't have expected to do Tomorrow either. So check that one out. Petula Clark did a version of this with the Muppets on Sesame Street. And then there is a punk version by Me First and the Gimme Gimmes. That's quite a name for a punk band. Well, if you're going to be a band and you're going to be a punk band, that would be a good name. And Alvin and the Chipmunks did this in 1982. Now, for those of you who think you can just go into your Alvin and the Chipmunks background, that's a waltz, so that's not going to work. You might be able to go into the Geniuses and find your Chipmunks sounds. And remember, if you do the Chipmunks, you have to lean in on your foot pedal in order to give them that high, squeaky, chipmunky type sound. All right, so there's lots of different ways we can actually play this. Let's do some extra chords. The F chord is good for one measure. Top line measure 2, over that blacked in quarter note, put an F major 7. You can handle that one. That one is E and F. It's 2 fingers. Second line, make the B flat, a B flat, major 7, A and B flat. Remember the rule for major 7s, it's always the letter -1. If you wish, you may put a 7 on the A minor. Line 3, the D minor, you can make it a D minor 7 at the beginning of line 3. You're on a D minor the line before. And then the next measure, first measure of line 3, you may make that a D minor 7. Or you can just stay on D minor, not a problem. Okay, when we get to the first ending, you're going to play the C7, but guess what? I crossed out that G note. Throw it away. Put a rest in there instead. You don't need to play that G note. Just throw it away. Do an effects or something. Second ending. Make the C a C suspended fourth, a C sus. It's three notes and it's C, F, and G. C, F, and G. Now, if you want, you can go back to a regular C or a C7 on beat 4 of that measure, or not, because it's only there for one beat. You could stay on a C sus for the whole measure and be fine. Fourth line, the F minor is good for one measure. Measure 2, first beat. You may put in an F minor 7, which is E flat, F, A flat. Next measure, you may make the D flat a D flat major 7. Your 2 notes would be C and D flat.
D, B.
C and D flat. The E flat, you may make that an E flat suspended fourth, E flat sus. Your 3 notes on that are E flat, A flat, and B flat. E flat, alligator flat, and butterfly flat. If you wish, then at the end of the line, for one count, beat 4, you may put in just a plain old E flat or an E flat 7, but it goes so fast you can just leave it on the sus and let it be. Last line, the A flat is good for one measure. Measure 2, put in an A flat major 7. A flat, capital MAJ 7, and your 2 notes are G and A flat right next to each other. Cross out the C chord and replace it with G minor or G minor 7, G and B flat. The last measure of the line, C or C7, put that one back in. Top of the second page, the F chord is good for one measure. Second measure over that blacked in quarter note, make it an F major 7, which would be E and F. Make the B flat a B flat major 7, A and B flat. Second line, if you wish, you may put a 7 on the A minor. The D minor is good for one measure. The next measure over the quarter rest, you may put in a D minor 7. You're already on a D minor, so don't worry. You don't have to add the 7 if you don't want. Third line, cross out the C and replace it with G flat. Now G flat, something we don't see very often. And make it a G flat major 7. Your two notes would be F and G flat. F and G flat. The second measure, put in a C or a C7 or a C sus, S-U-S, which is C, F, and G. Chickens, fish, and gorillas. Then over the C for tomorrow, third beat, now put in a plain old C or a C7. The F is good for one measure. Let's go to the next line. First measure, first beat. Put in an F major 7. Your two notes would be E and F. Second measure, over the word love, put in an F7, which would be E flat and F. Remember, the rules for 7s are the letter -2. A major 7 is the letter -1. The B flat is fine. The F is fine. Let's go to the last line, second measure. Cross out the C and replace it with G minor or G minor 7 for 2 counts. Over the G, now put your C or C7 back in and end on the F, and you're good. Now, that G minor, C7, F, the last 3 chords, that is one of the world's most common chord progressions, meaning that your fingers should start to actually feel those chords, and your ears should be hearing those naturally because we have them quite a lot. Those are 3 of the most common chords put together in a chord progression. I'm going to play it on song setup. Don't worry, we'll get to fingering as well, and we'll do the road map. There is a little bit of a road map, nothing drastic. I'm going to add some string tabs. Now I'm going to add a duet. Okay, so I added some repeat dots at the bottom and backed it up to line 3, the start of the third measure. Now you have to put in that pickup note for tomorrow at the end of the song. You got to put that C in down at the bottom so that when you go back from dot to dot, you'll be able to find it. Now, why do you have to do that? Because repeat dots only go back to measures. Okay, so you're going to put repeat dots here, and then at the bottom, you're going to put the repeat dots, but you're going to put your pickup C, put that in because you want to be able to play the tomorrow. Tomorrow. Okay? Now, the last time you play it, you're also going to want to put in some extra notes. Just go to the high C, go to the C above the C, stay on it, and stay on it again. Keep the chords the same. And then I stretched that out, and then just end on that high C with the F chord. Okay?
Dawn,
Yes.
on page 2, I know you added string tabs, but what did you add on page 2?
On page 2, I left it on, I added the duet right at the bottom of page 1, actually.
Yeah.
Right before oh the. I added the duet right there in that last measure of the first page, so that the entire second page was on duet.
Okay.
Okay? And that just, again, built the arrangement. I went from a low octave to a high octave. Actually, that low octave didn't sound very good at all, but I finished out the first 8 measures, went to the higher octave, added the strings, added the duet. So you always want to keep adding things into your music because that builds the arrangement.
Mhm.
Okay, let's do some fingering before I get kicked off again here. I don't know. I don't even have a bill for Zoom, so it couldn't be because I didn't pay the bill. So I don't know what's going on. All right, C3, A1, B flat 2, C1. Now circle that, you are tucking it under. The F can either be 3 or 4, whichever one gets there first. A5, G4, F3. Second line, A5, G4, F3, E2, D1, G5, E3, C2, A1, F3. Third line, G4, A5, B flat, 1. Now that's usually, we break rules every now and then. That is the one time you will put a 1 on a black key because you're stretching down to it. All right, cross out the G in the first ending. Put some rests in there. If you want to be technically right, you have to put a half rest, which is the rectangle sitting on top of the middle line, and you need to put a squiggly line quarter rest next to it. And then your pickup note is the C, which is a 3 finger. Let's go to the second ending. C1, 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 F2, G3. Fourth line, A flat 4, F2, A flat 4, F2, A flat 4, B flat 5. Here we're going to break rules again. E flat 1, E flat 1, E flat 1, A flat 2, B flat 3. C can either be 4 or 5. A flat 2. C can either be 4 or 5. A flat 2. And C is either 4 or 5. And that really just depends on which one feels more comfortable for you. Now you're going to add the duet. You can put a little check mark there too, by the way. And it's C3, B flat 2. Go to the top of the second page, A1, B flat 2, C1 with a circle. That means you're tucking it under. F3, A5, G4, F3. A5, G4, F3, E2, D1, G5, E3, C2, A1. F can either be 3 or 4, whichever one fits there the best. Then a little check mark. G1, A2, B flat 3, C4, D5, C4, A2, D5, C4, A2, D5, C4, F1, C4, B flat 3, G2, B flat 4, A3, F2, C1, the low C1, G3, F2. Those other C's are all fives. And you can stretch those high ones out as long as you want. Okay. Now if I play it on Jazz Club, I put it at 140 and it gave it a whole different flavor. Jazz Club is also your traditional guitarist in the easies. Okay. And that just gave it a whole different flavor, didn't it? If I go to the Latin, let's go to the Baroque just for fun. I won't play the whole thing. It gives it a classical feel and it changes it again. And that makes it kind of fun. If I go to the Latin, Ballroom Latin, okay, that gives it a completely different flavor. And if I go to the sweet rhythm, and I'm just going to go to ending 2. Let's get it right. Wow, never heard that ending. So many different flavors. So do not be afraid to try things. Try things on this one. And if you don't like the song, you know the rules. Don't worry about it. Next week, we will do Unchained Melody, and we will probably, since we've done this one in so many different books before, combine it with The Way You Look Tonight. So we'll probably end up doing 2. Alrighty. Any questions about what we did today? Nope. You guys have to go. You're 15. Well, they're probably just getting started. So click off of this link and get into the next link. That'll take you to the Zoom musical. It is Bart Jensen today. I do not know which organ he is playing, but I do know that it's usually 10 or 15 minutes before they really get started. So you didn't miss much. So go have a good time. Happy Thanksgiving.
And to
Thank you
and
for
Randy.
thank you for being patient with me with
What
with
time are
my
you serving
internet.
tomorrow?
That was-
Pardon?
What time are you serving tomorrow?
Oh, let's see. Randy likes to eat late, probably 8 o'clock at night.
Oh,
We'll be
Oh,
there.
oh,
Okay. If you can find where I live, you're welcome.
Give me an address.
You guys are awesome. Thank you so much.
Thanks. Happy
thanks.
Thanksgiving.
And we will have
Dawn?
class on Friday.
We
So
will.
Black Friday, there is class. The 11 o'clock class will meet. Hopefully I won't have these problems, but who knows? Well,
You gotta do the trolley song. Yeah.
yep, we're going to do the trolley song. Yes, absolutely. You guys are awesome. Go to the Zoom musical. I'll see you there.
Dawn, I have a question.
Yes.
Before you
Yeah,
go.
go ahead.
I have problems with a minor chord that's a seventh.
Okay.
Because sometimes when you're playing it, the extra seventh is on one note and sometimes it's on the other. But is that because the seventh is always off of the name? Like if it's a D minor, the seventh is off the D and not the other one.
Correct. The 7 is always off the letter of the chord.
So you
Always.
can't always go by fingering. You have to go by what the actual chord name
Correct.
is.
Yeah. So if
Okay.
you've got a D minor chord, for example, okay, let's see if we can. You can probably see it. All right. This doesn't have chords here, but if you can see it here.
Yeah,
Right. D would be D and F.
right,
The pinky would be the C because it's
Right.
the letter D minus 2. Now a C minor 7 would be C, E flat, and B flat, which would be up here. But it's
Right.
still the letter minus 2 to make the 7. It's not off the E flat, it's off the C. Okay?
right. Okay, now I'll be able to figure it out faster. All right, thank you very much. Have a great Thanksgiving.
No problem.